I want to jump into the story about Seth Rich. We mentioned it briefly at the top of the show. Seth Rich is the DNC staffer who was killed. And the circumstances surrounding his murder, it has not been solved. Let's put it like that. They have described it as a botched robbery. And by they, I mean the DC police. They have described it as a botched robbery. But from the time of his death, there have been many speculations as to what really happened. And there have been theories, whether you want to call them conspiracy theories or not. I'll leave that to you. And I'm sure I will qualify it in a minute. But there have been theories that suggest that this was some type of punitive action because Seth was the individual who tied or who released the emails to WikiLeaks, the DNC emails, the Podesta emails. The theory as it goes is that Seth Rich was the person who turned this over to WikiLeaks. Now, this has been an ongoing story for a while. It did subside for a while. It went away for a while, but it came back to life with a Fox News report that we discussed in detail last week or 2 weeks ago. And the Fox News report quoted a private investigator by the name of Rod Wheeler. Rod Wheeler is a private investigator, and he claimed to have additional information or more evidence that suggested that, in fact, that Seth was the individual who released this information to WikiLeaks. Now, the flip side of this accusation or this claim is that if Seth was the one who released this information to WikiLeaks, then it precludes the possibility of Russia being involved. I don't necessarily agree with that conclusion, but this is how the logic goes. So Rod Wheeler, a private investigator who happens to be a Fox News contributor, weighed into the conversation and brought this story back to life. The story slowly but surely picked up steam. It was picked up by Fox News, the national outlet, and Fox News, the national outlet, was actually the organization that identified Rod Wheeler as a Fox News contributor. He is a Fox News contributor, and that matters because it gives him access and the ability to promote this story to the level that it was promoted. But it went further than that. It went so far as to getting WikiLeaks to retweet the information about the private investigator finding new information. But the story started to fall apart, and it fell apart in a spectacular fashion. Rod Wheeler began to recant some of the things that he stated and said that he was really speaking on behalf of information that had been given to him by the local Fox News affiliate. This was 2 weeks ago. This was what we discussed 2 weeks ago. But it did not stop the momentum of the story from picking up speed and picking up steam. It actually got wind. It got picked up by Newt Gingrich. He picked it up and began floating it on air. And then last but not least, Sean Hannity of Fox News began to promote this story in a very significant fashion, such that it elicited a response from the Rich family. The Rich family put out a series of statements. They wrote a letter to the producers of Sean Hannity's show, essentially asking them to cease and desist with promoting and promulgating these conspiracy theories. These are their words, conspiracy theories, because it continues to hurt the family. It actually gets worse. It gets worse because now Sean Hannity, who has a major platform, everybody listening to me now knows who Sean Hannity is. Millions and millions of viewers, millions and millions of followers who listen to everything that Sean Hannity says. He began to promote an individual by the name of Kim.com. And it may seem like we're getting into the weeds here, but it's very important for us to identify all the players in this so that when you see this letter from the family, you can understand the extent of their frustration and the extent of their pain. Sean Hannity, with millions of followers, millions of viewers daily, he began to promote Kim.com, and Kim.com is an individual who said he had definitive evidence that Seth Rich was the person who turned over information to WikiLeaks. There's an exchange on Twitter. You could go check it out. But essentially, Sean Hannity not only co-signed this, but he promoted it, and he promoted it to the point where it became national news. It became national news to the point where every media outlet began reporting on it. Everyone, every journalist of any substance began reporting on it, not on the possibility of this being a conspiracy and a cover-up, but on the fact that a major reporter, a major commentator, Sean Hannity, with Fox News, is delving over into a conspiracy theory for which the family themselves have asked him to stop. And it came to a climax today with two things. On today, Kim.com released his statement, which was supposed to be a smoking gun, was supposed to be the definitive evidence that demonstrates that he himself could verify and prove that Seth Rich was the leaker to WikiLeaks. And instead, when you clicked on his site, you didn't see the statement right away. Instead, what you saw was a promotion, a series of promotions that you'll see now on your screen, promoting an album called The Good Life. And then the second panel said he's promoting an album called Good Times. This is Kim.com right there, the guy with the flower. And then you say, okay, well, maybe it's underneath the next thing. No, it's the next album, To Be With You. This is on Kim.com right now. You say, well, maybe it's after that. No, the next one is The Raid. Watch the video now. And they say, okay, well, somewhere on this website of all these wonderful graphics, you will see a statement. And then finally, you get to Seth Rich was a hero. I know that Seth Rich was involved in the DNC leak. I know this because in late 2014, a person contacted me about helping me to start a branch of the Internet Party in the United States. He called himself Panda. I now know that Panda was Seth Rich. Panda advised me that he was working on a voter analytics tool and other technologies and that the Internet Party may be helpful. I communicated with Panda on a number of topics, including corruption and the influence of corporate money in politics. He goes on to describe this relationship that he allegedly had with Seth Rich, but nothing in this statement that he piped up for almost 72 hours, nothing in this statement was remotely the smoking gun that he got Sean Hannity wrapped up in, hyped up, sharing it on Fox News, sharing it on all of his social media platforms, saying that the smoking gun is coming. And instead of getting a smoking gun, we got a motherfucking mixtape. That's what we got. We got someone promoting a damn mixtape on the back of a dead man. That, my friends, is some charlatan shit. That is grifter. That's grifty McGrift. I mean, this is the most blatant, obscene usage of someone who has been murdered for the self-promotion. And everybody's like, well, Ben, this is his website. You know, he can do what he wants to with his website. Like, what's important is that he had the statement. Number one, the statement had no substance whatsoever. I almost feel bad for Sean Hannity, but Sean Hannity can go to hell because he should have been skeptical enough to reserve judgment. And any responsible commentator, journalist, blogger, I don't care what you call yourself, anybody responsible would have been patient and skeptical enough to reserve judgment until they saw what this man, Kim.com, had to offer. And when I saw to be honest, full transparency, the first thing I saw was a statement. Someone took a screenshot and I took a look at the statement and I'm like, the statement really doesn't say anything. And I was willing to leave it there until I went to the website myself and I had to scroll through advertisement after advertisement after advertisement to get to a statement of nothing. That was climax one today. Climax number two was the family themselves having to come out, and they wrote in, the parents wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post. And I want to read a couple of quotes from, this is what they said. They said that we know that Seth's personal email and his personal computer were both inspected by detectives early in the investigation and that the inspection revealed no evidence of any communications with anyone at WikiLeaks or anyone associated with WikiLeaks. They went on to say, nor did that inspection reveal any evidence that Seth had leaked DNC emails to WikiLeaks or to anyone else. Indeed, those who have suggested that Seth's role as a data analyst at the DNC gave him access to a wide trove of emails are simply incorrect. They went on to say, despite these facts, our family's nightmare persists. Seth's death has been turned into a political football. Every day we wake up to the new headlines, new lies, new factual errors, new people approaching us to take advantage of us and Seth's legacy. It just won't stop. They go on to say the amount of pain and anguish this has caused us is unbearable. With every conspiratorial flare-up, we are forced to relive Seth's murder, and a small piece of us dies as more of Seth's memory is torn away from us. Shame on every single one of you opportunistic conspiratorial shields and grifters who are using this man's death to promote your conspiracy theory and your agenda against the DNC. I've got beef with the DNC and I've got the receipts to show it. Go check my backlog. But taking it to this point where the family had to pen this op-ed in the first place should make you go back into the dregs of society from whence you came, hide there and never show your face again. If you're supporting Kim.com at this point, not only should you go to hell, but you should be ripped of any influence in the conversation, in the national conversation, in the local conversation, because you are an opportunistic shill who wants to use the death, not even just the death, but the pain of the family that has survived Seth. You are using that pain for your own personal, validation, vindication, promotion. What are you getting out of this? The fact that you're trying to prove that Russia had nothing to do with the DNC leaks? Fine, you could try to prove that, but at some point you have to, not you, people who have a conscience, people who have some sense of shame will take a step back and say, if the family themselves have to write an op-ed like this, then far be it for us to continue to promote these conspiracy theories when the family, the people who are closest to the investigation themselves. But sadly, I've actually seen people say that the family has been co-opted. I've seen people say that the family has been, they're like we're really seriously going into 9/11 truthers. We're going into Sandy Hook deniers. We're going into Alex Jones territory at this point. And you continue to be what the family describes as the people who make this unbearable for them to move on. We do not know who killed Seth Rich. But at some point, we should accept the family's word on this, that if they feel that this was not some vast conspiracy to punish Seth for leaking this information. In fact, in the op-ed, it even discusses the fact that he was taking a job with Hillary Clinton. He was in the op-ed in the Washington Post. He's talking about the fact that he was getting ready to move to New York to take a 4-month job with Hillary Clinton, and he was excited about that. But somehow, some way, this is going to be incorporated into the conspiracy that says that Hillary Clinton had Seth Rich killed. There is an intersection. Sometimes I believe in the horseshoe theory, sometimes I don't. But there is clearly an intersection between the left and the far right on this story. When you see an alliance between people like Sean Hannity and people who call themselves progressives, we've gone into a space that we should take a step back from, take a look at it holistically and say, maybe, just maybe, we should take a pause and let the family of Seth Rich heal.